Hey guys, the Monday night rapid recharge is going to happen a little bit differently this week. Reason being is because we only had a couple of attendees the last few occasions, so I think I'm just going to do a few live and then a few pre-recorded. Just that way we can get it out. It will be out there at 7 o'clock as it is right now. Same thing for the Saturdays. This Saturday coming, we do have a main training coming at 10 o'clock. That is called the Craving Curber, and I'm really excited about that. It kind of actually stems from what I want to talk about today, but yeah, feel free to come along to that one. They are always pre-recorded, so it will be up in the guides in the Facebook group for your viewing when you want. If we're not quite at that stage yet and we're focusing on other things, don't worry about it. It's the Facebook group and the guides is not supposed to be a situation where we binge watch everything, then we get overwhelmed and we don't really know what we're doing. It needs to be slow and steady. So today I want to talk about being responsible. And I want to break the word down. I heard this from my friend Rob. He's somewhere in the group under Mindset Mastery, so you may have seen him before. But he talks about being response-able, and it's the ability to respond to situations. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up today is that we are all responsible for our own actions, right? I could go down a rabbit warren of other things with current events that are happening, movements that are going on in the news and in the public. But at the end of the day, it comes down to ourselves. We can all be guided by parents or that lack thereof, grandparents, our closest circle, our partners, should I say, and everybody in between. We can even be influenced by social media, and depending on how you want to take that, it can either be positive or negative, right? But the ability to respond, okay? So things will happen, reality will happen. And everything that I'm trying to teach you guys and to become self-sufficient, that in 3 years' time you can fall back on these new defaults that you've created for yourself. So life gets in the way, right? We all want a quick result. It would be amazing for me to be able to click my fingers and be able to give you the result that you want. Not only would I be the richest man in the world, but on the flip side, as a negative, you would never understand how you got there. And it's in dealing with these situations that you learn and you can then fall back on. Thus the whole point of resetting your defaults. I always say that you can never really fully trust somebody until you've been through every situation with them. And I openly talk with Zuzu that we don't know how we're going to be when we have children, when we've been with each other for 10 years, or all these things, right? Until you've gone through every situation with somebody, how on earth do you know what that scenario is going to be? So it's in dealing with these things and overcoming them and learning from them, can we then move on? So this being filmed, I've had a few check-ins this morning, and it's been an ongoing feature throughout, is that weekends are sort of a point, two days in the week where things get a bit more relaxed and things switch off. And this is very classic of sort of the 9 to 5 a worker, Monday to Friday. Weekend happens, undoes all the result, and then you have to start from scratch on Monday. Now, 2 days of the week, and I'm not that good at maths, is quite a large percentage of your given week. Well over 25%, if not over 30% of your week. And it's about keeping these as consistent as possible so that we have that same trajectory towards our goals. And that's effectively what this whole thing's about. The ability to respond to social events, to calories, to being offered certain things. And this is going to happen sooner or later because we're going to come out of lockdown. So the ability to respond to friends and family asking you over for social events. My parents are classic for this. There'll be a roast dinner, won't be calorie counted, obviously. Then there'll be a dessert that comes out, maybe apple crumble, maybe something like that. And obviously this time of year. in March when I'm filming this. That's quite a fitting dessert. In the summer, you might actually get away with things because there'll be a lot more fruit about, there'll be meringues, and then obviously you have the cream. But my point being is that there will be these things that come up, and it's your ability to respond to these situations and not feel bad about them, making sure that they align with your goals, will determine how quickly you get there. Now, as I was saying before about having a quick and speedy result, is that I actually don't necessarily agree, because it needs to be elongated out. The longer you spend in something, my classic toothbrush analogy will come out again, where once you've got that under your belt, it's very easy to just continue it on for the rest of your life. You don't ever consciously remember brushing your teeth, but it gets done anyway. And if you miss it once, it just gets done the next day. That's what I want you to learn about this whole nutrition, exercise, fitness thing. Yes, there are going to be some things like your steps, for example, that if you miss one day, and we're trying to get to 10,000 steps a day to get to 70,000 a week, if you miss an entire day of steps, it's going to be difficult to make that up across the next week. Actually, it's not that bad. It's a couple of extra thousand, but you then miss twice, and my golden rule is to never miss twice. And then the task becomes unsurmountable, you give up, and then you don't carry that momentum forward. Equally, being offered stuff, there will be social situations where you're going to be offered alcohol. This whole process is not supposed to be to deny and say no to everything. It's about the ability to respond to that situation and understand that maybe the social event's going to come up. The weekend is always the weekend. It's always the weekend. So if that's a constant problem for you, you need to look at that and figure out and maybe tweak and change some things. My best advice for the weekend to be as consistent as the week is to keep the routine the same. Have some freedom and relaxation of maybe the alarms, or clearly how much work or things like that we're doing. But the more you can stay consistent and do the things that, you know, people might say, oh, why do you set an alarm on a Saturday or Sunday? Well, because if I don't, and I end up sleeping in for 2 or 3 hours longer, generally speaking because you haven't had enough sleep in the week, Monday's very hard when the alarm goes off. So just something to consider. Going back on the social events and being able to respond to situations, it's just going to create a buffer space for you if you know it's coming up. So for example, we know the summer's coming, so barbecues are going to happen. We know the gyms are going to open, and they're going to be many things that we want to do instead of going to the gym. But what are the consequences of that action? What are the consequences of not doing that thing? So what are the consequences of overeating and over drinking at a barbecue? Well, they could be quite drastic if we've eaten normally throughout the rest of the day, but this is a classic case of where we implement intermittent fasting, for example. So that you're not eating for half the day, maybe you have a protein shake and a couple of bits of fruit, knowing that you've got one eye on the excess calories of the barbecue. Now, my whole process through this whole thing is to get you to eat as much as possible whilst still remaining to lose weight. That way we can create great relationships with food. The only negative to it is that it means that if you then stray over a weekend, you can undo your progress and you can start from scratch again. Which is why this whole process is supposed to be resetting your defaults, your baseline. Another example personally, I had therapy a couple of years ago. And I remember saying to the therapist, my ability to respond to a situation in the car when somebody cuts me up is not the one that I would want to portray forever. You have a go at the person that cut you up, you have a go at other people's driving. And he said a couple of things. One, it's okay to react like that. Why wouldn't you? But the thing that stuck with me is if you just take a moment your response will be entirely different. So for example, you're about to get on the horn in the car. You think that it's an old person driving and they're actually shitting themselves that they're out on the road. Do you beep the horn? Probably not. Do you beep the horn if you know that said person has just had a family member die? Probably not. Does it make you feel any better after doing that? No, generally speaking. I get that some of these moments are very quick and it might not seem relevant, but stick with me. Tracking calories, the choices we make, take a moment and do they conform with what we're trying to do? And trust me, it's easy to go off track. Even for a split second. My nemesis is a cup of tea at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Generally, as the circadian rhythm, circadian rhythm flows through the day and your sleep pressure, that's when you have a dip in energy. That's when you might get peckish. You might have always dunked biscuits or had something alongside a cup of tea in the afternoon. My auntie and uncle and I used to joke around about having tiffin. Oh, tiffin in the afternoon. Or English tea, whatever it is, with scones and scones, whatever you want to say. Don't judge me on how I pronounce that. But take a moment and does it conform with what I want to do? Even small cookies. For example, like an M&S cookie that comes in packs of 5, they're 400 calories each. Even small little biscuits with a bit of chocolate on them, 80 calories. Most biscuits are about 80 calories each. 4 or 5 later, and you have, with some quick maths, between 360 and 400. Sometimes if you even go a bit crazier that day and have 6 maybe, whatever, it's 500 calories of your daily allowance. Now, sorry ladies, but your allowance is far less than a male allowance. The less muscle mass you have, you'll have a less of an allowance of calories. And it's your job and it's your responsibility to spend them however you want, in one respect. But if you use them up too quickly, it will then be very easy to overeat. Which is why I say about these little rules about intermittent fasting and maybe not eating until 12, maybe not eating for the first half of the day, just having a small amount of food. It's very easy to overeat. Which is why some diets work for a short period of time, like Slimming World, keto diets, all that kind of stuff. Keto diet, for example, this morning with me, I ate, and what time is it now? 2:15 filming this. I've eaten 400 calories of bread, and that's just me being transparent. I can show you my Fitness Pal if you'd like, if you've got this far through this, and you'd like me to see it. I didn't think about it before I ate it. I tracked it afterwards, but it's too late then. Another little rule could be that you track your food before you eat it. Therefore, you've scanned it already. You've scanned that cookie, you've scanned those biscuits, you've scanned that bad food. You know it's bad food. You know it's not going to conform. It's not got loads of vegetables in it. If it's generally a tanned browny colour, it doesn't have as many nutrients and vitamins in it than something that's quite vibrant in colour. And I'm not talking about, don't go and have sweets, because that doesn't count, it's artificial. So I had 400 calories of bread, not including any toppings I put on them. But my allowance is 3,000 calories. So it's not going to affect my total as much as it would be if you were on 1,500, 1,700, 1,800 calories, even 1,000 calories. 400 calories of bread is what, 1/5 of your daily allowance of food. And it's just something to think about, like able to respond to different choices. It is your ability to respond to that situation. Take a moment. Does it conform to what I want to be doing? Think about this in this way before I leave. If you had somebody text you a shitty message, what is the best thing to do? Respond straight away in anger and emotion, or with emotion, should I say, because emotions are all things, even though they're contrived to be negative, right? If you're emotional, people think that you're being a negative, but side note, is it better to respond in emotion or take a moment, sit with it, and then respond? Because your ability to respond will be different whichever way you go. Same thing with food choices. Just have a think about it. Not asking you to track and be calorie conscious for the rest of your life, but just like a bank balance each day, you have a budget each day. If you use it up too quickly, you don't have anything else to do. You can't go play on any more rides if you've used your budget up for the day. You have to make it up somewhere else. Either take it off for the next day, take it off the day after. If you go too mad, there will become a point where, if say you're on 2,000 calories for ease of maths, 14,000 for the week, and say one day you have some alcohol and then there's cheese boards and then there's desserts and there's this and that, and you have 4,000 calories in one day, you have 10,000 for the week for the remaining 6 days, which is a lot less calories than you'd be used to. Mix with that you might be sluggish and tired and lethargic the next day, thus affecting exercise and output, and suddenly that the weight loss forms a plateau and you're not dropping anymore and you wonder why. But just food for thought for this week. Just wanted to plant some things in your head. I want to try and do this every week just to give you some ideas and some insights and some questions that I pick up along the way from you guys. Keep smashing it. Just remember, one eye on the goal that you're trying to hit, and any questions, as always, pop them in the Facebook group, give me a WhatsApp, be quick to ask the questions, and then I can help you as much as possible. Speak soon.